Welcome back, as always, to Strategy Gaming Dojo, where we find, learn, and play one more turn of the great strategy games. And today we're jumping right back into War in the East. And what could be more fun than overrunning Odessa with some crazy Romanians down here in the south? And that's what we'll be trying to do today. Now, as I've mentioned in previous episodes, I'm very happy with what's going on in the north. I'm very happy with what's going on in the center. In the south, I've seen better. Let's put it that way. We're doing fine, but it has been a little bit rougher in the south. We had these problems with these isolated Soviet units this turn. Not particularly happy with that, but ultimately these should start to hop, pretty fast. We got to get to Rostov. As I've said, how many people in history have said that? We've got to get to Rostov in a hurry. But as you see, we're down to this for this turn in turn 6. Now, that's not entirely true. We still have some air war stuff to deal with, to grapple with, if you will. But as far as infantry goes, we're really down to the Romanians here in the south, heading towards Odessa. Very important, of course, historically was a very difficult task. We're going to try to bomb the absolute crap out of Odessa first, the units in Odessa. Now, of course, we're bombing into an urban area. We'll see what we can do, but hopefully we can soften them up a little bit. We also have this little isolated Soviet unit here. That's not a good position to be in. I can just tell you, I'm no military expert, but this is not where you want to be if you're the Soviets. They're about, well, shit, I don't know, 150 kilometers behind enemy lines on a foreign border and completely surrounded. So, that's generally not good. So we are going to try to knock... Hey, David, what's going on? Well, I didn't mean to change anything, David. I'd like to be a very consistent general here. But I was on vacation for a few days. I got a permission slip and got out of here for a few days. So that kind of messed, the schedule up. We're going to get back on this schedule, 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, and do either War in the East or War in the Pacific. I also will be doing a lot more War in the East here this week to the extent I can fit them in so we can get as far down the road as we can here with the original War in the East before we jump into War in the East 2. I also will start uploading some War in the West videos. We're going to do a short scenario in War in the West just to show you the air war, since it is similar to War in the East. We did move our panzers last time, or our motorized divisions out here, the first panzer group. We do need to move maybe its headquarters up a little bit, so let's get that going up here to Vinnytsia. Get that rolling along, and we'll bring its air unit kind of as far up here as we dare, because it will be running recon. And when we do the special error episode, we will be putting everything recon we can into these kind of the ones that are attached to the groups or the armies. They can only carry recon squadrons, so we're going to try to stuff them all into there. We did make some nice progress down here. This all looks fine. We should get around a lot of these Soviet units unless they just try to retreat, which is fine too. If they want to do that, obviously we have a lot more mobility here. We will get around them eventually. It's just kind of where that happens. We've got the German 11th marching its way eastward. As you can see, we're about 3 turns away from getting across the river. That would be turn 9. Now that's assuming we don't run into, heavy resistance anywhere, but I don't think we will. That would be about turn 9. That would give us about 8 or 9 more turns to get down to Rostov, because the resistance will pick up as we start to head down this way, of course. Stalino, Rostov. The Soviets also know that those are important locations. David, 10 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. That's when I generally, or that's where we were streaming all of the time prior to getting shore leave from. Well, that's War in the Pacific, but being shipped back to Dusseldorf, let's say that for Oktoberfest. Um, yeah, so 10 a.m. Pacific, I'll keep that consistent, either War in the East or War in the Pacific. Then I'll generally do one later in the day at 3 p.m. Pacific Coast time as well. If you're European, I understand that is late for you, but it might give you something to cheer you up the next morning. Be like, yes, Strategy Gaming Dojo, I'm ready for another day. And so, yeah, I'm going to try to put up as many videos as I can this week because, especially with War in the East here, we're running out of time despite my best efforts. Okay, so we moved these headquarters up. I think, not really sure we have too much else to move back here. I think we moved most of it. We might as well move, we'll just move 17th Army headquarters under von Stulpnagel. Just a not a very good general, a 4.6. At some point, we need to take care of that. We'll just move him up a little bit. That's fine. Just kind of looking around here, making sure we haven't forgotten anything. Now, I will always come back and do this once before we resolve the turn. Just make sure everything's in command if you can. Make sure everything turns blue when you hit on the headquarters. You don't see any reds. Red is bad. And last turn we did have one Panzer division that was one hex out of our command. Ultimately, it didn't really affect anything. And I've been given a reprieve from high command. Okay, we've got all of this looks good. Now these, units like these, of course, I've said this many times, but you really can't say it enough. Strong Soviet defensive units in the first 10 to 15 turns, bypass them. Don't fight them. You don't have a reason to fight them. They're out on an island all on their own. The only thing you're doing is helping them when you take on their big defensive units, like that one. Hey, CJ, what's going on? Yes, sir, we are back in action. I'm back into the mode. This locomotive's just getting warmed up, and now we're starting to move back down the tracks. What do we have here? Okay, that all looks good. We've got our recon air base that's up here. We've also moved the other air bases up. All of these guys. Okay, we're clearing out the swamp there. Okay, this all looks good. This all looks good. Let's go back here. Okay, we'll move this air headquarters actually up here by its air bases. So get that up there. And then that airfield, I think this is the one. Yeah, this is the one we're trying to supply units with. So we're staying kind of right close to the railhead. This one, now I said I'm going to do a special air addition, and I am, but I'm just kind of looking around here. Oh, let's move the main air headquarters. Let's kind of center it here. The Luftflotte. I just like to say Luftflotte. It's one of those fun words to say. Okay, he's still on site. I don't know why he was showing red there for a moment, but this all looks good. He could actually go back some. I'm going to move him back. This is going to be our rear airbase where we can send planes back to the extent we need to, and then we can lower down their miles flown and make sure they don't fly that turn. If they need a rest or we just decide to kind of shuffle them in, shuffle them out, we're going to start doing that this turn. Hey, Automatic, what's going on? Okay, I think we're ready to begin our descent into Odessa. And what I'd like to start with, I think, is trying to bomb some of the units in Odessa. It's not something we've really done yet here. Let's shift right click and see what we have available here. You see a lot of level bombers. We don't have any fighters down here. And you can see here there are Soviet air bases. So what I'm gonna actually do is click off of some of these, and I'm just gonna send in kind of a smaller, like one squadron. Let's send in one squadron, see what kind of resistance we run into as we try to bomb units here. Ground forces were bombed. Okay, well, they did get 10 fighters up. Now, interesting, I think, okay, let's just keep bombing them. Let's send a whole batch of them here. If now we may get surprised here, and all of a sudden the Soviets get like 50 fighters up, but we only saw 10. I'm actually being a little reckless here. Is reckless too strong of a word? Maybe, but we are being a little reckless sending all of them here. Hey, 101 bombers sent to Odessa, 20 fighters. They only destroyed one bomber. So that looks pretty good to me. So, okay, now we're out of range. That's it. We've flown all the miles we can there. Yeah, okay. Let's actually see if we can bomb the town itself with other bombers, though. Can we? Nope. Everything's out of range. Everything's out of range. All right. Okay, let's get off there. That's fine. We'll do that again next turn. We'll just keep trying to bomb these units as much as we can. The stuff around it, we're not going to have that much problem with, but sometimes you can really have problems with Odessa itself. Obviously, an urban area. CJ says, are there any forward units that need gas transport before we move planes? Well, unfortunately, I think everything has flown miles now. Let's go out here. Let's just try to get something. Let's see if we can do it. But I think everything has flown to, once it flies, then you can't do the fuel transport. Yeah. So we'll have to do it before next turn. So we're going to move all the planes at the end of this turn, and then before the very first thing we'll do next turn is fly all of these transport missions out here directly into the headquarters. Really is where we want them to go. But yeah, we're not going to be able to get anything in there. Okay, let's start at the back. And I mean, gosh, this thing's so isolated. We should be in good shape. But let's put some support units in here. We'll put a heavy howitzer. I don't want to use too many because we're going to need them in and around Odessa this time, but we've got 9 machine gun battalions. We can surely spare one of them. Anti-tank, we could do some more. We could do an artillery. Okay, let's just make sure. I really want to get rid of this unit so we can get the heck out of this little area here. So let's do a deliberate attack. Move mode. Okay, there we go. Yeah, there we go. Okay. You know what though? I think we can get away with a hasty. The headquarters hasn't moved, so we are going to get support units no matter what. Let's just try to go. Well, maybe we should do it with this one. Let's do it with this one. Let's try a hasty attack and see what happens. See what. Well, those aren't good odds. Now you don't have to be a mathematician to see that 1 to 4.47 odds here are not good. So we did lose about 300 men, not the end of the world. All right, well, now we're going to go ahead and we'll deliberately attack with both of these Romanian units and see. Yeah, we got a little better there. We must have failed the dice roll on that hasty attack. Not great. Okay, they just surrendered. 8250 for the men, artillery pieces 85, and 44 armored vehicles. That's a decent little haul for your Romanians. They could build up some confidence maybe. And let's get them rolling east now and really try to get cooking. There we go. All right. Well, they didn't move very far, but that's all right. Okay, everybody's good. Okay. Now we've got these 2 units back here that we can start bringing across. Let's try to get them across the river if we can. So this unit and this unit. All right, we got them both across the river. That's great. And then we'll bring their headquarters unit up. We'll just stack it there. That's fine. Excellent. Okay. While we're here, let's do the railroad unit, the Romanian railroad unit. And we're going to get 1, 2. Now we can get down to this hex, but we can't quite repair it. So, Okay, I mean it's a slow moving affair, and it's going to take a lot of movement points to get across the river here, but it's better than nothing. Better than nothing. Got all of our airfields back here. We will move those forward. We'll go ahead and move the Army Group Antonescu up to Kishinev. Okay. Now you see he's also commanding. He's got a bunch of construction units out here, just repairing the rail. So that's good. Sending a bunch of those out. All right. Now we've got this headquarters. He's got 3 units stacked in here. How far can we get with this guy? Let's go straight across the river with him. Oh, okay, so that's just a fortified unit. All right, good. And then we'll take this one. Is that him? No. It's... Oh, it's the cavalry unit. Let's put the cavalry unit up here. We'll kind of do with this cavalry unit like this. We'll have it start to eat up hexes for maybe 11th Army, maybe the Romanians, just so your infantry units aren't having to eat up the movement points to go through Soviet hexes. Automatic says the airborne unit does well in city fights. Yes, I seem to remember that from a previous game. Now, I've got a little far north because I don't want 11th Army down here. Yeah, so you're talking about the same thing. I want them to keep moving east. It's perfectly valid what you're saying. You can bring 11th Army down here, take Odessa, make sure you take it really fast, and maybe achieve the same purpose of getting east as fast as you can. Now, our airborne unit, I think, is right up here, if I remember correctly. Yeah, there it is. The air landing division. The Germans like to call it the air landing division, I guess. We had to clear out something right here. I'm just going to keep all 11th Army moving east. I'm going to trust that this many Romanian units can take care of this. If not, I'll bring down some more. Getting the Romanians out here isn't necessarily the most important thing. I mean, of course, you want them to move along as far as you can. Don't get me wrong, but clearing up Odessa, we'll have them do that, and then we'll worry about what we do with them next. Okay, so we have both headquarters here. Now, one of these is attaching way back here. Okay, so the 3rd Romanian Division has not unlocked yet. Just kind of hanging out, I guess. Okay, just making sure we don't have any movement points back here. These should all be air units. I believe they are. All right, so now this headquarters unit is with this guy and this guy. So let's get this kind of lined up there. Bring him to the south a little bit. We'll bring the headquarters across the river, maybe right there. Okay, that gets everybody on side. We may eventually transfer this mobile unit to some of the mobile units that are a little farther north with the Romanians. Now, let's put some... Whoops, what am I doing? Let's put some support units in this headquarters. So we'll just do a machine gun, artillery, heavy howitzer. All right, sounds good. Now it's not going to help this guy, who I do believe can go ahead and just knock this fortified unit out. Yeah, all right, that's good. Adios, or does he just take a... Nope, he just shattered. That's about 2,000 men. Now, can he move forward? He cannot. Well, shoot. Not sure if that all worked exactly to plan. We'll bring this group here a little... Oh, 12 tons of supply, 2 tons of fuel. Oh, we just scattered a headquarter unit, so that's good. We'll just put him right there. All right, and maybe move him... Well, we'll move him in just a minute. Now, what do we have here? Who all are these guys attached? Okay, so this headquarters commands kind of everything else. What about this 8 and 12? Who's he with? He's with them as well. Okay. What's the best way to do this? Let's bring him forward to there. Bring him forward to there. We'll bring the headquarters out. So they're with 3rd Romanian. So there's 3rd Romanian. Bring 3rd Romanian, just kind of up here somewhere for now. We'll fix that here in a minute, or we'll fix where we want him to be. CJ, don't be mean with the Romanians. They're doing their best out here, my friend. Let's put some support units in with this guy. So we'll get the machine gun. We may need some AA out here. This is an AA artillery battalion. Now, interesting. They must have some big enough guns to help with artillery. Heavy howitzer. We do have a cavalry battalion that we could attach to our other cavalry. Maybe we'll do that. Matter of fact, before I why don't we just do that? Let's attach. Oh, shoot. He's a brigade. You can't attach to him. You can only attach to divisions. Anything smaller than a division, you cannot directly attach support units to. Always keep that in mind. Let's hit this Soviet airborne brigade and see if we can blow them out of here. Nope. That did not go as well as I'd hoped. Maybe if we hit them again, maybe we've worn them down a bit. We shall see. Yeah, there we go. I think, well, we just barely got 2-1, right? All right, took a step back. Not ideal, but that's okay. We've still got units back here to completely get around Odessa, so let's deliberate attack with him. That should rout, I would hope. He may just take a step back, because he can always go back to Odessa. He did rout. Nice. Okay, 662 on the casualty front. Now then, we've got these 2 units that can come forward. I don't know if they're going to be able to launch an attack, though, anywhere. Doesn't look like it. All right, we'll put this guy up here, I guess. And we'll put this guy right here. And can he move? Nope. Can he move? Nope. See if we got any movement points up here. He could go backwards, but we don't want that. This guy, I think, can go forward 1 hex. Okay. We'll just bring the headquarters across. Well, I actually don't want to do that. For supply purposes, if you can leave it behind the river, it's better. Move him there. All right, I think, okay, we'll move the main headquarters out this way. Let's move the recon air up. Is that too far? That may be too far. Actually, let's move it back behind the river right there. That's good. Got all of this air out here that we gotta go sort. I do want to go back here and make sure we're not missing anything. And I'll do it offline, but I'll go through the general's report too. And I just look at anything that's over 5 away from its headquarters and just kind of go through each one and figure out why it's there. Now, I should have done that with the Panzers last time. We did have that one that got out of command. But I don't think we have anything else to move this turn. Not really. I mean, we have to deal with the air, of course. And we're going to do that, and hopefully very quickly. Tarnapool. Okay, this all looks good. I know there's an inclination to want to come down this way too. I could just say it just slows you down. There's usually a Soviet unit right here, and it just takes forever. Just take them to the north of Odessa and come down. As you can see, Odessa's locked this way. You can't like come around this way to it. You just kind of got to take it head on and stack as many Romanian units as you can, and kind of do 9 different, Romanian units and try to blow it out. It might take a couple of turns, but we'll get there. This security unit, that all looks good. These guys could move a little further. Actually, I did want to move him up back this way. Just get him 1 hex closer to his headquarters. these are all spaced well. They shouldn't be able to run the gap here. There's way too much zone of control, I would hope. So they're either going to have to, flow out this way, which was probably the smart move, or if they want to make a stand, we'll be completely around them next turn and have them isolated. These guys are all isolated. They should just blow away like a feather next time. I say as I thought that would happen this time, but no, it did not. Let's make sure every Panzer is good. All blue. I see blue. He could really move up a little bit here. How far? Oh, yeah. Okay. Let's just move him a little further up. Wouldn't mind having something directly in Venitsa. This guy will be completely isolated and should be a lot easier to take out, let's put it that way. This all looks good. All right. We already checked all these. I'm not going to make you sit here and watch me check all of these. This is going to be really interesting when we resolve this turn. Now, the Soviets were able to break out one unit last time and get supply in here, which, kept these guys from being completely isolated. I don't think they're going to be able to do that this time. We'll see. They'll probably try to come out this way, which leads me to, could we get another unit there? That might be nice if we could. I really could probably bring this around. Like, where are they going to go? They're going to, go wander up towards the Polish border? Probably not. But we'll just take our chances with that. All right, guys, I think that looks good. And I think then I will look at the air war right now. We'll make that a very special episode. Make sure we got all the Finns moved out. Finns are raring to go. Absolutely no reason we can't move their airfields right to the border. So let's do that. We'll start up here with the airfields. We'll just stack them there. That's fine. We'll move him up here. And as long as they're in Finnish territory, it really you might as well put them as close to the border as possible. Now, okay, so that's our air. That's all air. Got it. Okay, we'll put that one there. Now, we haven't moved this guy. I'm just kind of leaving him here. I don't know. I mean, I very much doubt the Soviets are going to counterattack by, doing some kind of flotilla over here to take Nowheresville, Finland. But I don't really think we need this unit. It looks like the Soviets have said, screw it. We're just going to retreat behind the no attack line. Now that reminds me, somebody brought up a very good point that I think I'm not sure I made clear, or if I did talk about it, I maybe got it a little wrong. And that is, this is a no attack line. It does not mean the Finnish troops cannot move over this line. And that was a very good point. So when you get down here, if there's nothing here, the Finns can start to move into Soviet territory. They just can't launch any attacks. Okay, so there's a distinction there. It's just a no attack line. So always keep that in mind. If the Soviets get really preoccupied with the Germans down here and push everything down, I mean, the Finns, for instance, could go into this hex. All right, and if they get attacked, then they can defend themselves, of course. You just can't attack below that line. So just something to keep in mind. All right. This is what you all tuned in for. What happens with the Finnish Air Force? Let's move them down here. They're actually not bad. I don't mean to make fun. Who are you commanding? One Finn Corps. Who did I not hit Shift Z? Yeah, I've got Shift Z on. I guess one Finn Corps has like nothing in it. It's just sitting up here. I don't know. I'll just move it up here to the border. These guys are all in command. Yes. Okay. Let's see what kind of planes we have at each one of these Finnish air bases and kind of get them lined up a little bit. Now this is 4th Finnish Air Base, 3rd, first. Okay, they're named very well. I like this when they're named in ways that make sense. What do you have? You have fighters and utility craft. Okay. The Brewster, the Ripon. I don't really know my Finnish aircraft that well, I'll be honest with you. So we may just kind of say, okay, that's fine. As long as the lineup looks, these all kind of have a little mix of stuff. There's no problem with that. That's good. That's good for the Finnish air. Here, done. Um, okay, we've got here. All right, now let's see what we have up here at the 18th Army Air Base. It's all recon aircraft. We do know that. Let's see what we've got in the. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We've got 8 squadrons. We could only take on one more. We've got strategic recon up here. We don't really need much much more recon. Let's put it that way. I mean, spoiler alert, there are a lot of Soviet units in and around Leningrad. I mean, really, what's the point of running a lot of recon up here? Yes, that's true, CJ. They did buy quite a bit from the Allies, mainly the British. I think you're right about that. There's just not a lot of point in running a lot of recon up here. I would like to know maybe a little bit more about Novgorod. Speaking of which, let's just run a mission. See if we can see anything else out here. We might as well. I mean, all these air miles will go to waste if we don't run them. So we'll just run a bunch of recon here that we'll probably have to rerun next time. Oh, this is good to know, actually. You can see this must just be a thin front line for the Soviets here because they've got their secondary units, airfields, headquarters, soft underbelly, that kind of thing. They've got that just behind the river. That would be actually very good news. If we can break through here and then just go straight to Leningrad, that would almost... I don't want to say that, but that would be very good indication that we can take Leningrad if that's true. We're just in a very good shape here in the north. But as you see, they've got triple stacking everywhere here. So now let's see these units. How tired are they? Let's see what kind of fatigue. Not much. 0. They haven't been running a lot of missions. 8. That's all fine. This is exactly what you want in one of these direct Army airbase units. Let's go back to move mode really fast. Does he need to move up? Maybe he does a little bit. Let's move him up. I don't know. There. Von Kukler. Okay, these are his construction units that we're seeing back here. Okay, what's at this air unit? Okay, we do have some stuff here. We've got bombers and utility craft. Right. This is our supply. Okay, so on move mode, let's just click on a random hex and see exactly where the railhead is. Okay, so we've got him pretty much where the good rail already is for this turn, and then next turn we'll move him up again. But let's try to get every transport aircraft. We'll just remember 5th LW Airbase, and we may have already, when you saw the strategic reserve there, let's see what else. It's all, we've got some level bombers, some recon, and you may be saying, wait a minute, what are you talking about? We have a national reserve of aircraft that's just waiting, and we can bring them down to any of these air bases we want. How do you do that? You go here to assign, much like you do the support units, click on that, and you could see select air unit from the National Reserve. These are aircraft that are coming off the assembly line, or it could be that you've put them in the National Reserve. So we talked about this in the basic tutorial, but if we haven't really covered it much in the Let's Play, how does that all work? Well, you can, go to a specific air squadron. So let's just go to one that's on this air base already, and you can put it in the strategic reserve. Now, where is that? Replacements allowed, aircraft change auto. Now, of course, I should have looked before this because I don't remember off the top of my head exactly where that shows up. Oh, one thing I will say, aviation range, all ranges. If we want these units not to fly, you can always go here and you can say how many or how far you want them to fly. So all ranges, you know, very little range, you can set their miles. Oh shit, now where is this thing? Disband, no, we don't want that. Group, oh, it's right here, group range actually. So you can set, right now if it's an asterisk, it means no limit. Okay, so you're basically telling this squadron you can fly as far as you want, but let's say we wanted them to rest because their fatigue is 35. We probably would want them to rest. Actually, you can put this to 1, right? They'll only fly out 1 air hex, so 10 kilometers. They will go no further than that. I am going to figure this out. I can't remember how we put this back in the National Reserve. It's going to kill me. Also replacements. Generally, you want them allowed. Aircraft change. Huh. Why am I not? Do they have to be? I think. Hmm. 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 Well, damn. We may have to come back to that. Damn it. Um. Hmm. I did not go look this up because I've done this a million times. It's been a little while since I played a full campaign though. We may have to do that at the start of next episode. Right now, let's just move some of these things around. So we've got our transport aircraft. We do have bombers here. Let's get the bombers out of here because we do not need them here. Now they could fly supply missions, but they can also fly supply missions from these air bases up here. So let's see what we have here. We've got okay, we could put it in one of these air bases. So let's do that. So it's these guys here. It could be that we're not going to be able to transfer some of these. They may have already flown air miles. You can only transfer them if they have not flown, 1% air miles. But let's see if we could do it. Yep, not eligible. They've already flown air miles. All right, so we can't transfer any of them. We'll do that at the start of next turn, which is maybe when we're going to have to do a lot of this stuff, including putting things in the National Reserve. I think what the problem is, you can't put it in the National Reserve if you've flown air miles, so I'm not getting the choice. But I'll confirm that. All right, these are all bombers for the most part. So we've got, some fighters, some bombers. Probably before next turn, I'll flip these around and just put all the fighters on one air base and all the bombers on another, just so I can keep them straight in my mind more than anything. All right, not a whole lot we could do with those. What else do we have? What do we have back at this air base? Anything? Yeah, we do. We've got some fighters. The fighters have actually not flown, so why don't we put them up near the front? Oh, shoot, sorry. Let's go F10, click on there. These fighters, let's put them up here. All right, so that's now transferred up. Yeah, so a lot of this air stuff we're just gonna have to do at the start of next turn, unfortunately. I was hoping I could do some of it now. Let's go back to move mode. Let's see what we've got here. We've got 12 bombers, no biggie. I think we have air miles flown on all of this stuff. We do. And you can see that with the percentages there. Okay. What about these guys? Oh, we have some that have not. So this gives me, yes. Okay. That's our answer. Now, sometimes that's what it takes, right? You got to click around a little bit, even if you played a game a million times. Reserve. You see this reserve here? And so if their fatigue was high, we could transfer them into the National Reserve. I'll give it the right name, the National Reserve. And what does that mean? Well, it takes one turn to get to the National Reserve. Then they sit at the National Reserve for one turn. They will, burn off a lot of this fatigue, and then you can transfer them back. So it's a big process. It takes about 3 turns to get those aircraft back running missions again. And that's why some people don't like to take them all the way back to the reserve. So remember, it's got to be 0% miles flown for the National Reserve. I say, you remember. Hey, I need to remember. Let's all remember together. You will get that this reserve thing here, and you can click on that. I think it maybe gives you a pop-up, a prompt. Are you sure you want to put it in the National Reserve? But don't quote me on that. Only hit this button if you really want to do it. And so they go back there. What's the other way of doing it? Well, that's when you hear people that have played this game a lot talk about the kabuki dance or something like that. What you can do is you can transfer those aircraft back here to a base that's further back, and then you can set its air miles that you want it to fly. And so let's just click on this base. We'll just click on this unit here, and you would go to group range and just type in 1, okay? And now they'll only go out 1 hex, right? And so they're not going to get any fatigue, and you can get them to rest up this way. I think you can even put this on 0. I mean, if you really, really want to make sure they're not going to get into anything, you can put that. Nope, that takes it to asterisk. And asterisk means they will fly out. It's kind of commander's discretion. They'll fly out as far as they need to. So you do not want asterisk if you want these guys to rest, because as you see, I mean, they have a pretty good range, 41 here on the range, and 41 hexes. So, you would want to put this on 1, and then they won't fly out. Okay, just something to keep in mind. But I will put this back to 0. And since we have flown all those air miles, I think what I'm going to do is go ahead and resolve the turn here. I think we're in good enough shape. If I was playing against another human and it was a heated battle, I would go into the general's report. I would make absolutely sure there's nothing out of command, but we've checked it over pretty well. And you know what? This is supposed to be fun and entertaining. Jacek says, hi, this percentage near the air unit, how big should it be? Well, let's go to your air doctrine screen here. And you see this number up here, percent required to fly. And we say 40%. So it's going to be kind of in reverse, right? What this means is when you set the air doctrine screen at 40, it means that any of those air units that are over 60% for miles flown will not fly again that turn. Okay, and so that's what this percent required to fly. It's kind of a dual system, right? You see the percentage out on the map or out on the icon, the unit, but you set that at the air doctrine screen, telling the AI, I don't want you to fly any missions with a squad that is over 60%. Now I know that it's backwards, right? So percent required to fly, it at least has to have 40% left. Think of it that way, okay? What are these other numbers? If you didn't watch the tutorial, if you set these all to 100, the AI will fly missions to what it thinks is proper. So it'll fly the number of interdiction missions that it would as if it were playing the game just itself, if these are set to 100. If you set them to 80, so 80 here, it will do 80% of the normal amount of ground support missions that it would do. And this is set to 60, which means it'll do 60%. It'll send 60% of the number of fighters along as escort as it normally would if it were just playing the game itself as the AI. Okay, so it's an automated system that you essentially have sliding counters here to tell it I want more or I want less of what you would normally do. AI, talking to the little men in the machine, right? I say we go ahead and resolve this turn. Let's have fun. Let's go. Let's see what happens. I think we're going to get some more isolated units. Is there anything else? There probably is, but you know what? Let's click it. We're in good shape. If anything, I can just yell at myself. You guys can yell at me. Say, come on, man. Let's see what happens. I think we're fine. We checked it several times. I always do check it as I go along. You see me doing that, right? I hover over units or I click on them and see if they have, any movement points, and I make sure they're in blue for their command. They're not in red, and that's why that Shift Z is important because it lights it up that way. All right. So it looks like this is the first thing you see here are Soviet recon missions. So they're running recon missions here, and we are trying to intercept them. Or we're interdicting here as well. What is interdicting? That's when they try to move a unit of theirs, we send out bombers to bomb it. That's interdiction. And what does that do? You can see here, MP, their movement points reduced by 6. When we hit them with bombing, of course, they have to take cover. They have to maybe build little fortifications because these are weak turns, right? And so it slows them down. And that's what interdiction does. It restricts their ease of movement. Dana Flournoy probably says, "Do you remember what episode you had info on setting up air transports and fuel airdrops?" I think we briefly covered it in the tutorials. In the air war, I think there was only one air war episode for War in the East. In War in the Pacific, my gosh, don't go into those. Well, it's a different air system. But in War in the East, so I did talk about it in the air tutorial, but I'll be honest with you, it's been a running discussion through a lot of this Let's Play because with the new patches, it wasn't entirely clear to me how the new, I say new, how the air transport system really works in this game now. And so I can give you a quick rundown, which is we believe that you need to be running transport planes. Okay, transport planes are the only ones that can transport fuel. You need to be running them off of an airbase that is within 5 hexes of a railhead. Now, I've been keeping it directly on the railhead, and we're still just doing interdictions here as you're watching. So the Soviets are trying to move, and we're trying to restrict their movement with bombing. That's what's going on. So you need transports. Generally, as the Germans, I think it's the J-52s are the transport planes. You need those squadrons at an airbase that's within 5 hexes of the railhead. Then you need to hit Shift right click on whatever unit you want to drop fuel on. That will bring up the possible squadrons that can drop fuel out there. And then, you just click the ones you want and hit launch, and that will do it. Now, generally, I like to drop them on the headquarters. Ooh, look at all this, look at all this craziness up here by the Licky Lukey. Yeah, they're attacking us. Now, we put a hurt on them there. Oh, they're attacking us again. And this time, yeah, so we have the motorized division here. Wow, we didn't even take a step back. Okay, so they're launching their attacks, and we are doing quite well here. Now it's showing us as the defender, right? So don't get confused. Wow, they hit us with 53,000 men that time. We should take a step back on that. I was like, wow. Yeah, he got hurt a little bit on that one, and so now they've stepped out of Smolensk. This is good though. As the German player, you want them to attack you. They take like 10 to 15 to 1 losses attacking you. So anyway, back to the transport. Okay, so you can only transport fuel by actual transport aircraft or transport squadrons. You can transfer supply by transport aircraft or level bombers, okay? So if you want to watch the start of the next episode, this is a plug, right? This is like, we're getting to the near the end of the episode, and we're like, next time on Punky Brewster. No, if you want to watch the next episode, I will do that right at the start of the episode, and we'll really get into how it's all working, because I don't think I really have it in one place. So that was a very long answer to say, hey, watch the next episode. See, it's very self-serving. I like it. Arthur, I knew you were going to ask a hard question. We're still up in the air, pun intended, about how, whether it's within 5 hexes or if they actually have to be on the railhead. And I have not gotten a good answer for that. So I've been keeping them on the railhead. Um, and you raise a good point. My guess, and it is simply that, a guess, that if it's 5 hexes, it's also 25 movement points, because that's how everything else in this game works, is 5 hexes and 25 movement points. It's not or, 5 and 25 movement points would be the answer. Uh, we're going to find out through trial and error here. Again, I didn't go spend hours researching it simply because the air war is going to be different in War in the East 2, but we're figuring it out by trial and error here. Okay, turnover. So the Soviets did launch some counterattacks finally. They finally came after us a little bit. And we see this turn, we actually lost 20,000 men, 257 guns, 130 AFVs. That's all fine. Only 23, 21 of those men killed. We did have 200 captured, and we had 17,000 disabled, unfortunately. The Soviets lost 41,000 men. Now, so see, we're down to only 2-1 there. We need to do a little better. A vast majority of them were actually killed this time. For the game, we have lost 132,000 men, and the Soviets are up to now 1.42 million. Just astonishing numbers. They have now lost almost 20,000 guns, almost 8,600 AFVs. We've lost for the game 849 AFVs, so we're running about 100-1 there, and we're running over 10-1 on guns. But overall, we need this to be better than 2-1 right now. So that turn, not as good. We didn't have any pockets to clean up that time, so I'm not that worried about it. And we do have some pockets that have now been created this time. But let's go out here and let's just click on a random hex. Okay, it looks like we've already got what we want. And what I wanted to see is what's isolated, right? So what's isolated or considered far from the railhead. And as you see, we've got Soviet units isolated there, here. Now, of course, our 2nd Panzer Group is far from the railhead here, but they're still getting supply. As a matter of fact, when I say supply, I mean fuel. Let's get down in here. Yeah, excellent. So this Panzer Division has almost its full complement of fuel. That's great. This one does not. This one does not. They did not seem to get very well fueled up this time. And this is what's going to happen. You start to bog down out here. So best laid plans, right? Like, oh, I want to shoot the gap through here. Well, if you don't have fuel to do it, it's very hard to do. Now we are going to try to drop as much fuel out here as we can. Now here you see another motorized division that's got almost its full complement of fuel. So we did get some fuel into some units, not all of them, but some of them. Now look at this. The Soviets completely left the Dnieper line. They took off. They took off. And the reason being is, we have got them in really bad shape here. We're almost into their secondary, group of units, their airfields, their headquarters that we can scatter to the wind. They still do have this big defense of Smolensk, but they're going to be in big trouble here because we're going to be doing an infantry envelopment with the 9th and the 4th. We're not even going to use the panzers to mess with this at all. We'll just bring the 4th up here, the 9th down here a little bit, and we'll just completely envelop the city. It's good. We'll mop this up this time. That's all fine. Now you see they did rush to the defense of Gomel and got a lot of units across this little river here. So that's that's a challenge. We've got the second army coming here, so that'll be okay. We're still not seeing much resistance outside of Kyiv. They did try to move this unit. It's not showing as isolated, which is kind of surprising to me. We do have no Soviet hexes, but I think it got enough supply out of the city of Zhytomyr that it was able to move one hex, and it's going to try to get out, but it's trapped now. There's nowhere to go. Down here, okay, they brought, they did, remember we had all of these units that were kind of bottled here. They are trying to get them out, but we should be able to get around them this turn and link up with these Romanian. And this is one thing that these Romanian mobile units, the cavalry, the motorized, are good for is, we'll link up with 1st Panzer here and hopefully get all of these trapped. Still not seeing a ton in front of Odessa. We'll go look at that. But we're going to do all of that next time, which I will be putting out today. And JSIC, I will get back to that. I'll do that next episode as well. I'm really going to try to get you to watch that next episode, if I can. So, teasers galore. Thank you guys very much. I always appreciate it. As always, there were just fantastic comments today. You guys do me credit as subs on the channel. I really like it. Good discussion, and we'll get back into some of this stuff when we do the next episode. I'll be doing that later, probably tonight for most of you, since I'm on Pacific Coast time. But as always, thank you so much.